Oh, there we go. Hi, I'm Jen Eggert of Lackey Kids Ask an Autism Parent. This month, our focus is on sensory strategies. Today, we'll be discussing different sensory strategies and when to use them with Gina. I can't wait to discuss this topic with you, but first, let's watch a quick video from Lackey Kid.
And then you want to show everybody, this is a great fidget tool. If you got a kid that really struggles with keeping their hands to themselves, this is awesome. So this is a marble maze. All three of these things are by Lackey Kid, I should say. This is a marble maze. So they sewed a maze in here, and let me see if I can find the marble. Oh, it's right here in the piece. Okay, so you're gonna push it along, squeeze it out, and go along the maze. And I can attest to this being really fun and kind of addicting in a good way. It keeps your hands busy. It keeps you wanting to do stuff. Each side has kind of a different texture to it, so those tactile seekers are really gonna enjoy it. It's also, believe it or not, proprioceptive input as you squeeze that ball along, because it's kind of tight. It's doable, but it's tight. So you have to push with your hands while you get proprioceptive input, and it's like infinity, so you can keep doing it forever and ever and ever. And it keeps those hands busy. This is a good one for a car ride too, if your kids are close enough that they can touch each other and they're constantly touching each other, right? Does it keep you busy?
Thank you all for joining us. Today, I'm so excited to break down sensory strategies and when to use them with you and with our guest, Gina. So now I'll wait for Gina to come on and we will get started. Hi, Gina. Welcome.
Thank you.
So today we're discussing sensory strategies and when to use them. First, I want to start with what are the most common sensory strategies?
Well, a lot of times you see kids and occupational therapists in the classroom introduce strategies like taking a breath or using a squishy ball or swinging if you're a little bit understimulated or in general from whatever is going on around kids. Such as like if they have a really noisy environment, they need a little bit of a break to kind of move them into an area that's a bit more quiet. And then use a variety of sensory strategies that will really calm the nervous system. And I think that is what really helps both adults and kids when they become overwhelmed.
Exactly. Yeah. I just want to say that this week, hi, Angela. Hi, Jennifer. I want to say that this week we have actually been using a product that you made that we'll get into later. For those of you that know, Riley lost her best friend this week. So sensory strategies have been heavily on my mind because as Gina and I and most of you know, during times of emotional stress, sensory strategies become even more important.
Yes, they do.
Now, Gina, how do we know when to use sensory strategies?
You know when to transition kids into using some sensory strategies when they are feeling upset or overwhelmed and they're really starting to act out. A lot of times we misinterpret behaviors for when we think kids are actively trying to be naughty, quote, on purpose, when in actuality they're overwhelmed and they're trying to find a way to really regulate their system. So that's where the sensory system comes into play. And the best way to do that is to find out which of the strategies best support your child. And I think that is so important that every child is unique. And they all respond differently to different sensory components. So if your child likes to rock to calm down, or if they like quiet spaces to calm down, or sometimes children drink smoothies out of a straw, that calms them down, or something tactile like the squishy balls or stretchy bands. So there's just so many different ways that kids can use materials to help their internal sensory system.
And I just want to say, you were talking about kids when they're overactive. We see it as naughty when it could be sensory strategies.
Right.
I want to say that Riley, instead of being overactive, she tends to close herself off.
Right.
And we have to recognize that that is also a time where they could use more sensory strategies because they don't know, and she closes herself off so that she doesn't feel.
Right.
And that's a key thing I want to mention. Just, it doesn't always work. You have to know your child.
You do have to know your child, and every child responds to situations completely differently. And I know we talked about this last time. How they respond in one situation may be totally different in another situation. And I think that if we know our children and how they're responding, that will help us determine what strategies are best for your child in everyday situations, out in the community or at home. And I think that's very important to remember. So yes, there's understimulated and overstimulated, and kids can be either.
I just want to say, anyone, if you have questions, type them in the comments section so that we can address your questions. Tonight is the last night with Gina talking sensory strategies. So we want to make sure all of your questions get answered. So please let us know if you do have questions. Angela White says, I wrap up in a blanket and close in. Angela is the parent of an autistic child and also deals with a lot of sensory and similar traits as adults with autism.
Right. Yes, definitely. I mean that you're feeling that proprioceptive when you're wrapping up in a blanket. It is that pressure against your muscles in your body that's calming you down.
And especially when you have a soft blanket or the texture you like, it gives even more input.
Right, definitely.
Angela says that her son jumps. That's his thing.
Yes, that vestibular system. Yeah, that's huge.
And I know we have one mom whose son, the minute he gets home, he's socks off on the trampoline.
Yep.
He never really understood it until we discussed sensory systems, that he was seeking something.
Right.
She always thought he just was running home and wanted to play. Now she looks at it differently.
That's his calming strategy. Yeah,
exactly.
That's how he self-regulates. And kids over time learn what's best for their personal sensory system. And you're seeing that if they run to the trampoline every single time they come home, they have learned that after a day at school, that's what they need to do to self-regulate.
Exactly. And I'm so excited that our talks about sensory system, and last month our talks with an OT about similar but more hands-on sensory strategies. I really think I'm really excited because parents are seeing what their children are doing are not these behaviors, or not just them going out and being silly. It's actually strategies that they have built for themselves.
Right. It's purposeful.
Yes.
It's really purposeful and intentional.
And that's a huge difference that we have to make as parents. Is this a behavior or is this a purposeful need?
Right. Exactly.
Now, I want to talk about something that you created. You created this sweet little soft puppy that comes with an amazing book. Do you want to talk to us about that?
Yeah, I do. So I created this set. It's called Soothing Sammy, and you just put it up. And it is teaching kids how to use a variety of different objects to address their needs at different parts of the day. So if they're overstimulated or understimulated, Soothing Sammy is a way to communicate to them in a simple visual way that they can understand how to use some of those sensory strategies to calm down. And that's exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about squeezing balls and taking drinks and water, jumping and listening to songs or looking at pictures and using a lot of those visual and auditory and vestibular and proprioceptive ways to calm down. And the best way to do that is to have a spot in your house where kids can go to in order to access materials that help them calm down. And so that's what Soothing Sammy does. And so Soothing Sammy, I don't know if you want me to talk about what is in the book or how
it's up to you if you want to read us a small section.
Right. So what happens is the kids, when they feel upset or overwhelmed, they go visit Sammy, who's a golden retriever, in his little doghouse. And all of these pictures are very, very simple, and the words are very, very short in order to keep it less overwhelming and less overstimulating for children. So what the program is teaching kids that in Sammy's house, they have all of these things that help them calm down, like a drink, a snack to crunch, a ball to squeeze. And when kids see the kids in the book doing these things, it's a visual cue for them to know that they can also do those things. And so when kids don't have a lot of that receptive language skills yet, like they might not understand you when you say, hey, why don't you go squeeze a ball, or get a drink of water, or they're in this mind frame where they're not really hearing what you're saying. Having some of these visual tools will help. And so that's what the purpose of Sammy is to communicate to kids that these are things we can use to calm down in a variety of situations. And so what you do with Sammy, and in the back of the book, there's instructions on how to build a Sammy house for Sammy. And that's what you use the plush dog for. And you build a house with just an empty box or a container. And I have 3 different versions here. And you fill it with the items that are discussed in the book, like a ball to squeeze, and a song to hear, and a picture to see, and that's what Sammy lives in. So this is the box that Sammy comes in. Some of the families just use this box to build Sammy's house. And I have some things in here, like a place to jump. This is just like a placemat I got at the dollar store, but it's not slippery. You can put it on the floor, and the kids can jump, or they can go visit Sammy's house and grab a picture out, or one of those squishy balls that you have in here. I have another one, a crate, just an empty crate that could be for Sammy's house. And you could put your child's favorite cup in so they know that they can get a drink of water. Another ball. There's the washcloth they can use to wipe their face or get it cold and put it on their face to calm down. There's a CD in here if they want to listen to a song. And then there's baskets. Some people do it also with baskets and put the dog in. But something to be mindful of is that even though there's about 10 or 12 different calm down strategies in the book, sometimes having too many options in a box could also be overwhelming for kids.
Right.
So Sammy comes with, I don't know if can you see this behind me? There's a print.
Do you want to pull it off and maybe show us a little better? If
you can see that. Let's see here. There's a printout of all the different things that real kids are doing. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Drinking, squeezing a ball up here, looking at pictures, smelling a flower, using a washcloth, jumping. That if kids want to request something, they can point to one of these pictures. Or if you're using the pet system or something else, you can use that instead, but create an if-then chart with those pet systems. Or, like what I did is I even put cut them out and laminate them and put them on a key ring and put them in Sammy's house for a child to request what they're actually interested in using to calm down. So you can limit that to 2 or 3 options.
Mhm.
And just put them in, and they can pick out the pictures and hand them to you to show you what they need to calm down with. Or you know your child best. Maybe they do best with the jumping, and you want to have Sammy's house up here with Sammy the dog and the book in it, and then the placemat for jumping in front of them, so they know automatically that they can go jump there to calm down. And so it's a way for kids to understand visually what their body needs to do to be able to regulate themselves. And you can use that in a variety of situations. The best part about Sammy is that you can have a box for the car, you can have a house at home, you can have a house at wherever. And if they see a picture of Sammy or they see the Sammy dog, then they're able to cognitively know that that's what the stuff in that box is for. I think that's the most important thing is kids, especially with autism, with a communication delay or a sensory they need very visual and very hands-on ways to learn all these new strategies. And that's what Sammy does. I think that's one of the most important things that to take away from this is that we need to break the skills up into really small increments so kids can understand very simple steps and be praised for that. And once they're calm, talk about why they were upset and move on to the next part of your day.
And I just want to say, this week, Riley's whole class has been dealing with the difficult situation I explained earlier.
Yes.
And her teacher actually had a huge setup of different areas with sensory strategies, knowing that most of the children in her class are neurotypical. There are a few like Riley who have autism.
Right.
And she wanted them to have the skills that they needed and the tools they needed to get through the longest week of school that they will ever have to go through.
Right. Exactly.
And I think we need to look at it more than just at home, but involving our educational team.
Right. Right. And the nice part about something like, as Sammy said, is that if you want to introduce this as part of something they can use in the classroom, they can do that with like a picture. I included with this is like a postcard of the front of what this looks like. It's just the front of the cover. And you can use that postcard wherever you are. And when kids see that, they automatically know what you're trying to convey to them by using those calm down skills. I picked a dog because I feel like there's a lot of support dogs out there, and it just kind of goes together that he's here to help support them and learn these new skills. And it's a positive experience. It's not a negative experience. In the story, the kids go to his house. Sammy gives them all of these different tools to calm down, and at the very end, they're happy and running around and playing, and they go on to have a fun day at the very end, right? So it's not like a timeout situation or something where it's negative. It's really a sensory break and a time to gather yourself and give your body what it's craving, so that you can move on with your day. And I think that is one of the most important aspects of teaching our kids these sensory strategies. Is it's not a bad thing to do. It's something your body's asking for, and we're here to support them in a way that best meets their needs, both communicating with them and actually that hands-on interactive play. I think.
Now, I know Sammy and his book do not come alone. Do you want to explain that?
Sure. Yeah. So Sammy and his book. So Sammy will come with these downloads. You can print out if you want them. They also come with a curriculum, which I have on the wall over here, but it basically teaches you how to introduce Sammy to your child throughout a week. So, such as reading the book first, and then decorating his house together, and then one by one adding those sensory items into the house with practicing what they're for. So squeezing the ball and putting the ball in the house that day, and then the next day, eating a crunchy snack and figuring out how that feels to them, and if that calms them down, adding that to their box. So it's over a week period, you're starting to add things to Sammy's house incrementally. So it's not like you just open a box, you throw a bunch of things in there and Sammy in there, and then you put it to the side and expect the kids to know what to do with that. It's a very laid out in a way that they will actually understand the concept about what it's for and why. Also, Sammy comes with this. This is also a printout that you can print out if you want to use it, and it's a chart, and it has the red, the yellow, and the green. And how to explain that is if your child is able to communicate with you, and they do not want to feel, they don't feel ready to communicate. They're upset, and they put Sammy's picture down there. You see that? Mm-hmm. Picture down here. You could put Velcro or tape. And then when they are feeling a little bit better, they can move Sammy to the yellow. This kind of means they're not really ready to talk yet, but they're calming down. They're not really overwhelmed anymore. And then when they're ready to talk about what's going on, they can put it on the green one. And that's just there to signify to the adult, oh, if it's on the green one, they're ready for me to come over to them. And they're ready for us to have a conversation. So this is just another way for your child, if they're not talking yet, or if they don't have a lot of those communication skills, this is another visual way that they can communicate with you. A lot of times, kids that are 5, 6, or 7, or 8, or even older like this chart, because this stops the parents from coming over saying, are you ready yet? You want to talk now? You want to talk? And they're like, I don't want to talk to you right now, right? So they can move Sammy up and down based on how they're feeling and when they're ready to have that conversation. So that's also.
I just want to say part of why I love this book so much, guys, is because, like she said, the language is extremely simple. So if your child is not verbal or is on the more profound side, mm-hmm. they still get some understanding from it because it is made simply, but it's made in a way that they can understand.
Right. And I can read the first part of it if you want to.
Okay.
It just says, when I am mad, I visit soothing Sammy. And it says, who understands me. In Sammy's house, there are so many things that help me calm down. And then it starts talking about each thing. A soothing drink, a ball to squeeze, a song to hear, and a picture to see. And then it keeps going. And it's very, very simple. And the reason why I had the illustrator make these if you notice, there's one solid color in the background, mm-hmm. and the child doing the activity. So it's very calming. It's not overstimulating. There's not a lot of pictures on the walls or other people.
And it's very focused in on that one item.
Exactly. So it was done in a way that, kids can understand just by looking at that picture what that child is doing. So when they look in the box and they find the ball and they see the little boy squeezing the ball, they know exactly what that ball is for. So,
and I want to say that everything in the book is wonderful, but some children, you may want to add other things to Sammy's house. It's not just limited to what's in the book.
Exactly. And so in the back, at the very end of the story, there's instructions on how to make Sammy's house. And there's a whole bunch of ideas. 2 full pages of things that are examples of things you can put in Sammy's house. And if there's anything extra that your child needs, if your child is one that needs to use the trampoline, then great. Put the Sammy's house right next to that trampoline. And this Sammy can have a trampoline in his house too, and that's totally fine. It doesn't have to be just what he has. But it goes through, a soothing drink. You can put a child-sized cup with water in it. A song to hear. You can have a favorite CD or a toy that has a parent's voice recorded on it. Or a card, a picture cue card that the child can give to you as a parent that they know that you'll play that favorite song on your iPhone that they really need to hear. Or a picture of a family member, like a mom or a dad, if that helps them calm down, or a puppy. Or, there's so many examples of things in here that speak to all of these different sensory components. And in the back, explains every single sensory area, like tactile, what it means. And if you have a kiddo that is big on calming down when they touch, there's examples of what you can put in Sammy's house for those tactile.
For tactile, our Lackey Kid marble maze is actually a wonderful idea as well.
Ah, that's a great idea.
Because you simply work the marble. I'll show you the backside where you can see the maze better. You work the marble through the maze. So they're getting that tactile, but it's also calming. And I've noticed with Riley, she'll go like this while she does it.
Right.
She's getting that double input.
Exactly. And so when you look through this with your children and you read about each area, and you find out which one your child identifies the most with, which ones help them the best, and then use the information in here. Like for auditory, Sammy demonstrates this by providing music to sing and dance to. Or olfactory is the sense of smell. You can use, lotion, you can use essential oils, you can use candles, whatever sends off that smell. And so they're all broken up into sensory areas if that is helpful to you. And you want to look at those aspects for your children.
Honestly, as a parent, that was, I think, the first thing I flipped to was the back so that I could figure out what would be best for her when we were going through the book.
Right.
I went through and I looked at the tactile things that she enjoys and the ones that Sammy looks at, and I kind of built from there.
Right, exactly. And Sammy, when I chose what would go in the Sammy book, I chose things that almost everybody would have, just so that it would be easy and simple. But like you had said, you can add more stuff to Sammy's house or switch and change them out. But I wanted everyone to be able to access Sammy and this plan. So that's why I chose the ball and the cups to drink and the spot to jump on. And I tried to make sure that there was something for every area, every sensory area, and every sensory component is identified in something one of the kids are doing. So if it works for that child, they'll see another child also.
Exactly. I'm going to run to the questions for a quick minute. Angela, I'm not sure if we can answer this question. I'll try, but if not, I will pose it to Matt and see. But Gina, maybe you have any suggestions for the replacement for W sitting?
The replacement for W sitting?
Yes.
W, is that, does he calm down when he's W sitting? Is that what you're saying?
Angela, is that calming for him maybe? Or are you just looking to replace it as a whole because of the hips and the way it affects the hips? She'll answer back in a minute. I know she will.
I really, those those sensory balls or sensory mats that kids can sit on, that to me helps with W sitting a lot.
Well, in Lack a Kid, I don't have them with me, but we have the balance ball chair and we have the wiggle seat. So those would change the way your child would sit and take them off of that W sitting.
Right.
Rose says, what a wonderful tool.
Oh, thank you, Rose.
Angela says, this sounds great for young children. And Melinda loves the pictures and how bright and clear they are.
Thank you. Yeah, my illustrator did a great job. I explained to her what I needed, and she did a really good job.
She did. Now, I know you have a website that we can go to.
Me?
Yes.
I do, and I think Jason has actually,
You just posted it right now.
Yeah, he has a direct link to actual Sammy, the Sammy page.
And this link, folks, will bring you right to Sammy's page where you can order.
Yeah, you can look about it, order it.
And you can look into it more.
This, I don't know, did you see the emotions and feelings? Is this the other component you wanted me to talk about, was the emotions and feelings stuff?
Yeah, if you want to kind of get into that a little bit for us.
So there's 3 parts to calming down, right? When kids are feeling overwhelmed. First, they have to identify the fact that they feel overstimulated and they need to calm down, which is part of our job as parents and professionals, is to say, hey, I think you need something, right? And to teach them that so when they get older, they can identify that they need that and then do it independently, right? Kind of move themselves into that. So the first is for them to identify how they're feeling. And then the second is to actually learn how to use different components to calm down. And then the third is, how do they communicate why they were feeling that way? And I think that is one component that we often miss. Is that's great that kids can stop and calm down on their own, but we need to come up with a way for them to communicate why and how, so next time they get stuck in that situation, they can get out of it before they become overwhelmed. And so, what?
I just agreed with you.
Yeah. And so that's why this emotions and feelings activities, comes to you in digital format. And it is filled with a bunch of different play-based, hands-on activities that teaches emotions and feelings and the words to use with them. So for this, your kiddos have to be verbal.
Right.
I don't think there's any way around that for this particular part of it. But even verbal, meaning they can use signs, they can use text, they can use cue cards. But one of the most important things to know is that there are over 90 different emotions that have been identified in the human realm of emotions, and that is a lot. So when kids are frustrated and overwhelmed, it's like we're trying to decode which of those 90 they are feeling. And that is not an easy task. No. And so these activities take them through learning about each of those feelings and matching a feeling to a word. So you can adapt any of these activities to using text or words or signs or wherever your kids are at. But these were created for preschool age children.
And I know we have some children that use assistive communication devices that speak for them.
Exactly. So that could work too. I just think the reason why I included this is because we need to remember that once the kids are calm, we want to be able to figure out a way that they can tell us why and how we can prevent that from happening in the future in whatever way that they are able to communicate with us. I have a bunch of learning activities on my website, and this is actually one of those units that I pulled out of it because it's about emotions and feelings. and just paired it with the soothing Sammy. So there's hands-on things like running. There's drawings, there's rolling around, and there's laughing and jumping and using like green paper to say go and red paper to say no, I'm not ready yet, and all sorts of things that use a variety of tools and learning languages to help kids learn how to express their feelings in a way that we can actually help them communicate, and we can help them calm down so they don't have to melt down. They can be redirected more easily and more subtly. So that's just, there's 4 components to the Sammy. There's the curriculum that comes with it, these activities, the Sammy dog, and the Sammy book. And then together you can tailor what is best for your child, where they're at developmentally, and how you want to introduce the concepts.
Going back to Angela's question about W sitting, yes, it's a sensory input that pulls on the outer leg muscles. I can get him to sit in different positions, but they don't give the input. And Angela, this is when we would say to use other things like a sensory ball or a wiggle seat, or having him jump and stand up. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of OTs are going to tell you that W sitting is very bad for them.
Yes. Yes, they're all going to say that.
Yeah. So
I like, I got this at Walmart in the dollar section, and it's for jumping. It's a placemat, and I like it because it's visual, and it gives the kids, there's a boundary. Put it on the floor, and they know they can just stand there and jump on and off of that as much as they want. And I think that it's so simple. Yeah, it works for those large muscles for those kids that need that vestibular input. And it works for proprioceptive too. That's what she's talking about, is the feeling of the joint pulling is a lot of that proprioceptive stuff. So if you have a squishy ball,
Herco is very tactile. He's very tactile and likes those big movements.
Right, exactly.
Angela said that your emotions book sounds similar to Dr. Green's approach.
I'm not, I can't comment 100% on that. I haven't looked at that, but.
Dr. Green, it is, when I was reading it, it is very similar to the approach that Dr. Green took.
Okay.
In helping children with autism by giving them different control. And that's what we're doing with Sammy. We're giving our children the control.
Right. What Sammy does is make the idea of calming down come to life.
Yes.
It's like a way to identify with something that I'm being taught as a child. I'm hearing it a lot. I'm seeing people tell me to do things. And Sammy, the book and the dog kind of bring that, connect it together in a way that kids can understand and identify with. And they can think, oh, Sammy, these kids went to go visit Sammy when they were, not feeling well. So I'm going to do the same thing. And Sammy is this real life, not real life, but, real plush dog that I can go touch and squeeze and cuddle and hold, and he can help me feel better just like those kids did. And so that's
he's also very soft. I mean, I know you and I discussed the process of picking Sammy.
Right.
And it was not a simple process for you.
It was not a simple process for me. No, I have about 15 golden retrievers that I have in my house. And Sammy, why I picked this is because he is soft and cuddly, and you have him in front of you. But he's safe for kids ages 2 and up, which is super hard to find. Usually it's 3 and up. And because of 2 and up, it's really hard to chew the eyeballs out. It's really hard to chew the nose out.
Yes.
And it's machine washable. So you don't worry if they lick it or whatever. You can put it in the washer. Um, but Sammy is and he's large enough that he actually looks like something I can use. It's not like a Beanie Baby. I think he's 12 inches long from toe to tail, and he's 8 inches high. You know, there was just a lot of thought that went into what is a young child going to see, and how is this going to make it safe for them to use, and what is going to be the easiest for the parent as far as keeping track of them. He's large enough.
Yes.
He's easy to clean. And he is really cuddly. I made him, the whole goal is to have Sammy stay living in the house. That's kind of but half the kids end up sleeping with Sammy. It really is nice and cuddly. That's fine if you want them to do that.
But he's a great size for little ones and up, because he is that perfect size in that his dimensions really, like, folks, he's the perfect size. As you can see in my hands, he's appropriate for all ages, like you said, 2 and up. Right. And that was important to you.
That was important to me. I wanted it safe for the little ones. That was my biggest thing.
Well, because we know that giving sensory strategies is more effective when we start them as young as possible and build on them as they grow.
Right. And, you know, I've had some families ask me lately if they can use this with their 18-month-olds or their 19-month-olds. And I tell them, you know, they're really young to get this concept. But you can start, you can buy a Sammy kit and hold off till they're like 2 to start introducing these things. But even just looking at the pictures and letting them hold Sammy, that's enough of an introduction. And Sammy on its own is a sensory component. He's squishy and soft. So
and that fur, a lot of kids love that fur feeling.
Exactly. That fur feeling, his ears won't rip off because they're sewn down. But yeah, so you can introduce them as slowly as you need to with your child. And I think that's the most important part. These two together make it come alive. And then you can add in the house when they're ready. And like I said before, you want to add in things slowly. That's where the week-long curriculum comes in. I'm not seeing those. And then you add in the cards slowly. You know, start with one, then add another one, then add another one. And when your kids have identified what works for them the best, limit it to those 3 that are in this house. And so it's not overwhelming and not overstimulating for your child to see.
Now, I just want to cut in real quick and say that if you're looking for laminating but you don't have a machine, Walmart has self-laminating sheets.
They do.
You can buy and use.
The laminating machine, it was like $27 on Amazon. And it was it's for one of those, you can, because, you know, when you start laminating, then you're going to want to laminate everything, because that's what I ended up wanting to do. Because things last a lot longer that way. But the reason why these come digitally and I don't send them to you is because if something messes up, you have it. You can just reprint it.
Exactly. Sorry, I was dealing with the technical difficulty.
Oh, no problem. So
thank you, Jack.
So yeah, you can just reprint however many of these you need, and it's super nice to have this in the car. Like I said before, have them in the car, have them in your purse, have them hanging up on the wall at your house, have them, you know, at grandma's house. And so the kids know exactly what these are for, and it's easily identifiable.
And you can also you have them on the ring. You can buy the ring at most craft stores, and I believe Walmart sells the rings as well.
They're just key rings.
Yep.
Yeah, they're keychain rings. Any will do. But yeah, it's just I made this so it would be super easy for you to implement and to teach our kids, you know, what they need, the strategies that they need to understand. So, and then you can put those in the house or hang them on the wall or make a little Sammy ring in the bedroom if you want to, or you can just have them all in a box. The box that it comes with. Just keep it simple. Have the kids decorate the Sammy box
like you said, it could be as simple or as complex as you want. And the decorating of the box, I think, is important for some of the kids. I know for Riley, she likes the stickers and the certain colors and scented markers. And
Exactly. So that's why, well, there's a reason why I picked this box is because I have the Soothing Sammys on here so the kids know, and then you can decorate it. It's a sturdy box, so you can use this. Just cut the top off and use this as the box for Sammy. Or if you want to get fancy, you can use a basket or a crate. Some families like to do that. If it's going to be in your living room and you want it in a basket,
yep.
That's
you can also have the option of having a basket for the living room and one for the bedroom.
Exactly.
Or the car.
Exactly. And if you want to buy more than one dog, that's an option.
Okay.
So you can order, let me know that when you check out, and there's add-ons. You can add an extra dog on. You can add an extra book on. One thing I tell families is if you have more than one child and you think they both would want a house, I highly recommend having one dog for each child, because having their own house is very, very important. Yes. Having your 5-year-old go to your 7-year-old's Sammy house and use things out of their Sammy house is not going to fare well with your 7-year-old.
Well, and you may have a seeker and an avoider, so they would use totally different tools.
They do use totally different tools, and it's also an idea of this is my Sammy house, and this is my stuff that I made for him. And then you can have your own Sammy house where you made for your, I mean, it's just, there's a whole bunch of stuff that plays into that. But I think it's really important when you're teaching kids calm down strategies, I think it's really important for them to own their own space for that.
Yes.
And if it's their special ball or their special lovey or their special, I think it's really important that they don't have to share that with a sibling or a friend. I think that is just respectful for that child, and it also kind of puts the rules around that sibling stuff. So that's always an option if you need another Sammy or you buy one and you decide later you want another one. There's that option on the website to get it. So that's there, because I know that I get that question a lot from moms. They say, "Oh, I wish I bought 3 of them because my 7-year-old has." So you don't have to buy like 3 full sets of Sammy kits. But you could just buy.
Right. You could buy one book to share as a family and then buy 3 dogs that they all get introduced to.
Exactly. So that's so.
Unfortunately, we are at the end of our night. It is getting late here. It is almost bedtime for Riley. So, Gina, I want to thank you for joining us this month. I know it didn't work out. You were sick on week 2. I was sick on week 3.
That is
kind of been a messed up month, but I appreciate you coming and sitting with us and explaining Sammy. I really think he's an amazing tool for so many of our kids. And I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. If you want to subscribe to join us live, type 5 in our public chat and go from there. Angela, I will have him redo that. Jason, our link for the website is not working. If we can repost a working link, we will get to that. Remember, this video will be saved. So will the comments. So if we do not get the working link up right away, we will have it up as quickly as possible, and we will post it in group because it's not working right now. So just watch and we'll have that done tonight.
And if you guys have questions, I'll be in the group for the next couple days to answer questions and to help with the links and stuff. So if you have more questions that come up later, you can just write a comment under the video and I'll come in and answer.
Perfect. Yeah. So folks, like she said, if you need anything, Jason, that link is still not working. We will post it in group. We'll make a separate post with Soothing Sammy's link and I will go ahead and tag Gina in that post. So if you have any questions for her, she can kind of walk you through it and help you. So we will post that in group tonight as soon as I get Riley settled, and I will tag Gina and let her know. So again, if you want to subscribe, just put 5 in our chat right now to subscribe. And don't forget, we have a parent support group that we would love to have you join. Gina is going to be there to answer questions and give advice. We also have other people that are in there that, like, we have Matt, who is an occupational therapist assistant. We have different people in there to help you guys get the advice you need. We are also a very positive group. I don't allow negativity. Quite frankly, I've got enough going on in my life. If it's not positive, it's not for me. So thank you all. Don't forget to check out our Sensory Deals group and have an amazing week. And I will see you next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And we will actually be starting our month-long discussion on parent advocacy, which I feel is extremely important. Until then, please remember, empower, support, and educate. Bye.
Thank you.